Now, you worked for Fox News for many years, and everyone knows about the story of Roger Ailes, who was the chairman and basically a god at Fox News. And you've been very open in saying that he actually sexually harassed you. Can you talk about that? Are you comfortable, explaining your
Yeah,
situation?
absolutely. I mean, obviously, I wasn't alone. So many women before the Me Too movement, it was so commonplace that you would deal with a boss making lewd comments, making inappropriate comments, or at the worst, which is, what Roger did with some of his female employees, setting up a quid pro quo that in order to advance, in order to get the job that, we wanted, there would be a sexual favor that had to be exacted. And so, obviously at that in 2017, when all of that broke and so many of the biggest names in our TV news business ended up losing their jobs because when it all became public, it was just such a cataclysm,
Yeah.
through our whole industry. And I don't want to pretend that it's over, problem solved.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's not. So many women still deal with this, but sunlight is the best disinfectant. And so talking about all of this stuff out loud and sharing our stories, I think does just really, really help other women and people who are going through it.
I mean, it's got to be tough. I mean, here you are trying to do a job. It's already a tough business for women anyway, to get ahead. So you're trying to do your job, and then you have someone who's in charge, basically, of your career, basically, at their hands, doing these kinds of things. And then, you got to either pretend like it's not happening, or you got to go home and cry. And I got to tell you, from the husband side of it, I would be enraged if my wife came home and this is what was happening. I wouldn't be able to contain myself.
I used to pride myself on how I could navigate through these things. How I could navigate through the lewd comments or the suggestions or the demands. Like I saw it as a sort of somehow a badge of honor in the 90s,
Hmm.
like I can do my job really well and go through all of this garbage. And it turns out that's wrong.
Hmm.
You don't need to do that. You don't need to learn how to navigate through it. Sexual harassment is illegal and you need to tell HR. If you don't get any justice there, you need to hire a lawyer. There are all of these things that you can do rather than just kind of grinning and bearing it, obviously.
Yeah. It's interesting because, like you said, it's not over. I mean, obviously, things have gotten better. And what advice, if you could talk to women who, in any capacity at work, feel like things are inappropriate being said to them or done to them, or the bar is set unfairly, what would you say to them?
Look, I mean, one of the lessons of all of this, of everything that I've ever struggled with, is that, the truth will set you free and that there's no good that comes from suffering in silence. If we had all at Fox banded together and shared our stories, I think that we were very siloed. We thought that maybe it wasn't happening to other people, maybe it was just happening to us, but it's never just happening to one person.
Hmm.
And so I think that talking about it, sharing what you're going through, reaching out for help, as I said, just start with your HR department because now people are on notice. After the Me Too movement, different corporations changed their policies and they are on notice that bad things happen
Hmm.
when power goes unchecked like this. And so I would just say, talk about it. I think that really is what opens the floodgates.